Cyber threats are a constant battle. But what if your biggest vulnerability, your people, could actually become your strongest asset? Today, we're talking about how to build that human firewall. I'm going to explain how you can turn your team into the most effective shield you have against one of the most relentless threats out there. But look, to build a solid defense, you first have to understand the enemy. So let's start with the sheer scale of the phishing threat that we're all facing every single day. Get this. Every single day, cybercriminals send out over 2 million phishing emails. That is not a trickle, it's a relentless, nonstop flood aimed directly at your team. It basically guarantees that being targeted isn't a matter of if, but when, and how often. And here's the thing, these aren't just empty attempts. Phishing is shockingly effective. We're talking about it accounting for nearly half of all reported cyber incidents. It's the attacker's favorite tool for one very simple reason. It works. So when you're faced with that kind of constant barrage, what's the solution? More software? Higher digital walls? Well, the most effective strategy is actually to focus on the targets themselves, your people. It's time to build a human firewall. The core idea here is really a shift in mindset. It's not about blaming people when they make a mistake. It's about empowering them to be a frontline defense. A team that's aware and engaged creates this proactive shield that, honestly, software alone can never replicate. And this human firewall is built on 4 pillars that all have to work together. You need the knowledge of the tactics, a clear process for reporting, the right kind of culture, and a real commitment to keeping it all up to date. Okay, that all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually put it into practice? Let's get into the playbook and see how this goes from just an idea to a concrete plan of action. So yeah, the big question, how do you actually build it? Well, the good news is it's a lot more straightforward than you might think. It really boils down to a logical 4-step process. First, you get a baseline, see what your team already knows. Then you teach them. Then you test them with simulations. And really underpinning all of it, you create a culture of open communication so everyone feels totally safe speaking up. Now that second step, developing the content, is absolutely critical. This is where you move beyond just telling people, hey, don't click bad links. The real goal here is to teach your team what a phishing email actually looks and feels like in the wild. Effective training really zeroes in on the common tactics. Attackers love using deception, like a sender address that's just one letter off, and manipulation. They create this false sense of urgency to make you act before you have time to think. These are the classic telltale signs. And trust me, this is not theoretical. A massive phishing campaign in 2023 targeted Microsoft 365 users by creating that exact sense of urgency. The emails would claim an account was about to be shut down or a file deleted, tricking people into handing over their credentials. It's a perfect real-world example of these tactics at play. Now look, a one-time training session is a good start, but it's just not enough. The ultimate goal is to make security awareness stick, to weave it right into the fabric of your company culture. So how do you build that kind of culture? Well, the key is to think in terms of clarity and small, fast wins. You build confidence and engagement not in one giant leap, but through consistent, positive reinforcement. In those small wins, they come from making security feel accessible. It means using simple language, setting goals people can actually achieve, and celebrating successes, like when the team correctly spots a real threat. It's all about making security a continuous and positive conversation. And hey, if building a stronger, safer organization isn't quite enough motivation, here's a really practical one. This is becoming a requirement. Compliance rules for cybersecurity training are getting stricter and they're expanding in 2025. This isn't just a good idea anymore. It's fast becoming mandatory. So, after all the software and all the policies, what is the most critical takeaway from all of this? It's this. The active, educated vigilance of your team isn't just part of your defense. It is, without a doubt, the most potent weapon you have. And that leaves us with one final, crucial question to think about. After everything we've seen, the massive scale of the threat and the power of this solution, is your team ready? Are they prepared to become your most potent defense?